Hi everybody, nice to see you all again. Welcome back. This week we are going to be making stuffed trout. And we're going to be cooking it in a salt dough. So to start with, we're going to mix the dough to start with. So we'll start with the flour. So we'll put that in the bowl first. Right, and now the salt. Thank you. So we're using for one large trout, we're using 750 grams of flour and 650 grams of salt. I'm not quite using the whole quantity of what I've measured out here. Now, if you were going to do a big salmon, because it would be the same salt dough recipe for that, you would use up to a kilo and a half of flour and 1.3 kilos of salt. Now, I'm just going to mix all the salt and the flour together first to make sure that's all mixed up well. Right, now to that we're going to add about 250 mils of water, but we're just going to add it a little bit at a time. So would you like to pour this in while I mix it? So I've got a little. Move that up. That's it. Pour it in. Okay. That's it. That's enough. That's enough now. More in a minute. So I'll have a bit more water in there, please. It's got to be made into quite a stiff dough, not sticky. Got to roll this out as well. At the moment, I'm just combining it all too. Can you take some more water in, please? Yeah. No, a bit more. I think that's almost all of it. All of it. Water. That's it. That's almost all of it. So this is quite a messy process, as you can see. You need to make sure it's a nice firm dough. Not too sticky, not too dry. If it's too dry, it will crack when you put it in the fire. And if it's too wet, it will be very difficult to roll out. Right, can you put some more water in there, please, Lexi? Right up, right, keep going. That's it.
That's heading back.
That should probably be enough now.
Do you want to take the rest of it?
There's more in there, a little bit more in there. Right, so I'm just squishing all this dough together now to try to. I think we need just a little bit more water. Can we just take the last of that in? No? Okay, there we go. That's it. Last little bit in the bottom there. Okay.
You dropped some in there.
Okay. Right. First thing we need. Now we need the chopping board from behind me, please, Lexi. One with all the flour on, yes. So as you can see, we've got quite a nice lump of dough. It's got. Okay, put that on the table, please. Right, if you could put that over on there, out of the way. So we need plenty of flour on here because we don't want it to stick to the board. And we need enough flour on here so that when we tip it into the fire, it slides off into the fire without us having to lift it and move it too much. So now what we're going to do is just knead this a little bit so it's one nice solid lump. And then take it. please. And now I need my rolling pin. So I'm going to start rolling this out. Now you need to roll it out to about 1 centimetre thick to get a nice dough that protects the fish while it's in the fire, but it still allows it to cook. So there we go. So that's nice. I'm just going to push it together a little bit more there. Okay, so that's all our dough rolled out, ready to go. Right, I'm just going to wash my hands off a bit. So it's quite a messy job, that one. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to mix our ingredients for the stuffing. I'll have that little bowl. So what I've got a little bowl here, and what I'm going to mix in here is some breadcrumbs. So we put a handful of breadcrumbs in there first. We've got some chopped parsley, some fresh chopped parsley there. Mix all that in. Some dill. Now these quantities are a little bit, are not exactly measured, but it's about a slice of bread. And then we've got a little bit of salt and pepper in there, so that's the pepper going in. And don't tip it, we'll do a couple of pinches of salt. So we're just going to mix all that in. I'm going to put a little bit more of that dill in there. So there we go. So it's just mixed up, all the dry ingredients. A little bit more pepper. Now I like pepper, lots of pepper because it lots of flavour. Right, now next we need our trout next. So Lex, if you could pass me over the fish, please. So I've got here a rainbow trout. So we've got a nice rainbow trout here, and it's just been filleted. So nothing else, just filleted. The rest of it is intact. And what we're going to do is we're going to just fill the cavity where it's been filleted with the breadcrumbs. That's it. It's all been inside. So fill that up. Now the only other thing I'm going to add is a few slices of lemons in there as well. That's it. Thank you. That should be fine. So there we go. So we've got our fish there, filleted. So there you go. We've just laid it on the top of the pastry. Now I've laid it slightly to one side, so slightly further down on the pastry that's rolled out. Right, now what we're going to do, I need to just roll this out a little bit more. I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger so it's got to cover the whole of the fish. So what we're going to do is just wet our fingers and put it round the outside of the pastry here. So we're going to wet all the way around the outside of the pastry here. Because we want to make sure that it's going to stick. The dough is going to stick together, so it doesn't burst open while we're cooking it. So right now I'm going to turn this round here so I can fold it towards me. It's breaking up a little bit. It's a little bit on the dry side. Anyway, let's get it over. That's it. Right, it's over. So now I'm just going to stick that down. Now let's turn it around so you can see what I'm doing here. So what I'm doing around the edge now is just to pressing down so it joins the dough together. You get that's it, all the way around there. So that's nicely joined together. Now, because this is a fish, and while it's in the fire, we want it to look like a fish. I'm just going to trim some of the dough off around the outside, so it's a bit more fish shaped. So let's just get rid of that. in the bowl on that there. So there you go. Now we've got our fish shaped. We've got our fish shaped. It's broken apart a little bit, but that will be fine in the fire. So there we go. We've got our fish in our salt dough. Now we want this to make this look nice, even though it's going to be in the fire. So we're just going to use a blunt knife, and we're just going to make it look like scales on the side of the fish here. Just go all the way down. Now I'm just dipping it in a little bit of water so it doesn't stick. You dip it in the water or you dip it in the flour just to stop it from sticking. And we've got a nice scaly fish. We'll put a little eye in the top there, I think. There we go. And on the tail, I'm just going to put some little lines across the tail there, just to make that look a bit more like a fish. So let's just hold that up for you. There we go. There we have it. So we have our fish in its salt dough, ready to go in the oven. Now I'm just going to put this to one side for a minute because I've actually got some in the fire, not in the oven, in the fire at the moment. I'm just going to move that to one side just for a moment and get another chopping board here ready. So I put one in the fire about 45 minutes ago. For a small trout, it would probably take around about 30 minutes in a good fire on good hot embers. You don't need a roaring fire. You just need it to be hot embers just to cook it on. So I'm just going to take this one out of the oven. I'm just going to put it onto this chopping board here, and then I will put the other one into the fire, not into the oven. Now we need to try to get this out in one piece. It's a little bit broken there. Right, now we've got that one out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this one in. So I'm just going to move it around on there just to make sure it's not stuck, because otherwise that will just fall apart as we try to put it in there. There's a bit more flour underneath there, I think. So here we go. So that's ready. So now what we're just going to do is I'm just going to slide this straight into the fire, onto the fire there like that. So that's that. Now it's just cracked a little bit, so we're just going to. Now, so that'll take anything up from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. If you were to cook a whole salmon, you know, a couple of kilo sized salmon, you probably need to put it in there for an hour to an hour and a half. But obviously, as we're doing just small trout today, then 35 to 45 minutes is fine. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut open the dough and get the dough off the side of the fish. So I'm just going to push the knife in the side and see if we can open this up. You can see the bottom is quite burnt where it's been sitting on the coals, but hopefully inside our fish should be perfectly cooked. So I'm just going to ask Lexi to pass me a plate, please. Right. Is it coming open? Oh, I've just caught the waft of lemon as I've just cracked open that pastry. Now I'm going to cut across the back to try to get this pastry off. A big plate, please. I'm having a bit of a job getting the pastry off here, the dough off. Right. Oh, that's sizzling now. So let's just get this pastry off the top. Now are we cooked? That's not quite cooked on the top. And I'm going to take it out anyway. Tail bit off. For a minute. Now, this is actually sizzling in its own juice here in the bottom of the pastry. Off. Yeah, this isn't quite cooked. It probably could have done with a little bit longer, or turning over in the fire as it cooked. So let's just see if we can get the rest of that, get it off its pastry. Right, put that in there. Yeah. The pastry is rolled to about 1 centimetre thick. So just about a centimetre. Let's just see if I can slide this out onto the plate in one piece. Oh, turn that over. Well, that's there you go. As I've turned that over, let's get rid of some of this bits. Now, as I've turned that over, the skin has come away from the flesh of the fish there, and we have perfectly cooked trout. So it's cooked on the bottom, but it's not quite cooked on the top. Now, what I could probably do, I've got another one in here that's cooking as well, is probably just turn that over within the fire now. So let's just have a go at doing that. Turn that one over. Okay. So now I'm going to leave that one upside down for about another 10-15 minutes, and hopefully the other side of the fish would have cooked as well. So that is how you do stuffed trout. Now let's get rid of all that skin. But that's beautifully cooked. That will flake away lovely, and you've got the nice flavours from the inside, from the stuffing. Got the parsley, the dill. Great thing to have with dill is great with fish. So Laura, would you ever put embers on the top of the trout to get it cooked even? Yeah, actually that probably could have worked as well. Than trying to turn it over. I mean, that was quite easy to turn it over because it was just a small fish. But obviously, if I had a big salmon, then yeah, putting the embers on the top as well would probably be good, and perhaps building them up round the sides. So, hello, Chris. Nice to see you. Thanks everybody for joining us today. It's great that you've all come along. Lorraine, yes, this video will be on the YouTube later on today for you to view as well. If anybody would like the exact quantities for the salt dough and the stuffing, then yeah, or any different ideas, because there's quite a few recipes out there from medieval times that it was pretty much what you had to hand that you could use for stuffing your trout. Anything that you could find. Any herbs would go quite well, I think, with the trout. Tarragon would probably be another good one to stuff the trout with. So unfortunately, this one does look a little bit messy now, but I'm going to try just a little bit just to see what it tastes like. You can definitely taste the herbs and the lemon. So I'm going to try a little bit. I think I've got a little bone in there. Just a minute, get the bone out, please. There we go. Let's try that. Like that? That's good. So is there any more questions? No more questions? Okay, well that. Yeah. In your oven. I would probably cook it, if you wanted to wrap it in salt dough and put it in your oven at home, Marianne. I would say probably about 180 degrees, probably for about 45 minutes, I would think. I must admit I haven't tried it in my own oven, but just put it on the salt dough, lay it onto a baking sheet with some baking parchment so it doesn't stick, and just pop it in your oven, in your normal oven at home. So yeah, you can still get the taste, that salt dough baked taste, using it in your it wouldn't be served in the dough, no, it would be taken out of the dough and it would be transferred onto a plate. Now, as you see, mine fell apart a little bit, so perhaps I could have served it in the bottom half of the dough, just cut all the top half off. But then the trouble is with that, if you're then eating the fish, you might get a mouthful of dough, and that wouldn't be very nice, because that would be quite salty, or very salty, because it's almost 50-50 salt and flour in there. So probably not. The salt dough would just be thrown away afterwards, so it wouldn't be kept. as you can see, it's pretty burnt. Not really much use for anything, and flavour you wouldn't want to eat off it because of all the salt. Yeah. You like it, do you? That's good. Lexi wants to try a bit more. That's what we like to hear. There we go. I wouldn't have cooked it in my clay oven, no. Yeah. The oven, we will be cooking in the oven again in a couple of weeks' time. So I can talk to you a bit more about that then. But if you want to see a bit more about the clay oven, if you have a look on the YouTube or go back through my Facebook page from last week where I cooked bread in the oven, and I explained a little bit more about that then. But we will be cooking again in the oven in a couple of weeks. So next week I will be cooking on the fire, and I will be cooking lamb cakes, and I will be cooking a side dish of wheat pilaf to go with it. And also, if midweek, we'll be putting up another little short demonstration of cooking griddle breads. So if you can join us probably Wednesday to have a look at the griddle breads that we're making, something a little bit different. So if that's everybody's questions for now, I could always answer more questions later on Facebook if there's anything you think about, or you want any more information about anything I'm doing, any of the ingredients, or any of the sort of history behind herbs I've used and things like that, then please just drop me a message. I'll be lovely to hear from you. So I think that's it for today. Thank you for joining us again.
Bye-bye.
We look forward to seeing you again next Saturday. As I say, next week it'll be lamb cakes and wheat pilaf. So I look forward to seeing you then. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Try a bit more. Very nice, isn't it?
Peter, do you want to try Peter's hat and fish?
It needs a little bit more cooking, but that's very, very tasty. Very tasty. Right, let's get rid of that then. You can get the other one out of the oven. Right, bye.